It's NFL Wildcard Week, and we have full cash and GPP lineups on FanDuel. Plus, we'll unveil a new NFL DFS contest that's free entry with a $100 prize pool. All of that and all those details coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Usually I do this show alone. Really appreciate it. And by the way, the last time, Michael, that you joined us, we scored 170 points in our cash lineup. So no pressure, no pressure. We'll get to that cash and GPP lineup on FanDuel in just a moment. Couple quick announcements. We have a new NFL DFS contest. And I'll put it up on the screen how you join. First of all, you're going to need a DraftKings account. I know that this is a FanDuel video and you guys, hey, I don't have a DraftKings account. No worries. Just go to DraftKings.com/r/fantasy consultant. It is completely free. There should be no cost for you signing up. And it actually helps support the show when you sign up for DraftKings on that. And you can then go to this link when you're logged into DraftKings in your new account. I'm not going to read it, but it's on the screen as well. DraftKings.com/draft/contest/ a whole bunch of numbers. And that will get you into the contest. What it is, you fill out a full lineup. Whoever scores the most takes home $50. And we'll do it again the next week for another $50. So be sure to enter that soon before it fills up. All right, because there's only 200 people that can join. All right, the other thing I want to make sure you guys are aware of, because I still seem to be surprised that this doesn't get as many views, our NFL DFS masterclass, where we talk about all of the strategies and tips in order to pick the right quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense. It's all free on YouTube, so be sure to take a look at that series of videos. All right, let's open up the mailbag.
Mail call. Gather around, everyone.
Well, let's see what's in the mail. What's this? A letter for me.
Rick Williams says, I'm a regular commentator. I think you need to bring Michael back next year. He brings the energy, and he's really knowledgeable about football. That from Rick Williams. Michael, one question. How are you related to Rick Williams?
I thought I typed that differently when I put it in there, but that looks about right.
Oh, it's awesome that how much our FFC community has embraced you. Walt Scoopin says, we'll tell you guys we're my first fantasy content provider I have watched every week starting last year. So since you now have a fan club, Michael, let's prove both of our worths and get into the FanDuel cash lineup. We're going to start at running back. And, we're in the wild card round, Michael. Gone are the days to say who's facing Jacksonville and who's facing Houston so we can completely take advantage of their bad defenses. We've got a bunch of really good games. But there is by far, in my opinion, the worst defense of the playoff games resides in Tennessee. The Tennessee Titans have given up 30 points on average in the last 14 of the last 15 games, not counting the Jacksonville game. So let's expose that by picking up Dobbins at only $6,800. That's a little bit of a bargain to get a guy in a great matchup who's the clear number one running back. Granted, his quarterback is going to get his share of the carries as well.
Yeah, I like this pick. I think low floor here, or high floor, excuse me. I think he's going to have a good game. Maybe perhaps not some of the upside, but again, this is our regular lineup, and we just want to make sure we've got guys in here who are going to score well. So any bargains that we feel good about their floor, I think we should be trying to pick up.
Speaking of scoring well, he scored touchdowns in all 6 of his last games. And we love the game script with the fact that they are favored and they have an implied total of 29. That's fantastic. Who are we going to pair J.K. Dobbins with? Another guy who's favored, another guy who is the clear back, another guy who is really underpriced at $6,200, James Conner. Now, full disclosure, Pittsburgh hasn't effectively run the ball well this year, Michael. What are your thoughts about James Conner in our lineup?
Well, it's playoff time, and I think that the Steelers have learned that they cannot rely only on the short passing game. They've got to push the ball down the field. And then I think pushing the ball down the field opens up the possibility that James Conner becomes an outlet. They're starting to do that a little bit more. Obviously, you see the targets and receptions in the last couple of games. That helps immensely. And they're going to need to get some yardage on the ground and maybe even sneak a run in towards the goal line. So I think Conner, who should be getting most of the carries and really most of the touches for the Steelers in the backfield, again, kind of has a high floor for that low salary.
Yeah, we like the implied total again is 26.5. I do think Pittsburgh should win this game. And don't count the last game where they put Cleveland where, it was Team B out there for Pittsburgh. But for the first time they played them, 20 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown. So if we can get anything like that, that would be great.
Yeah, and Vernon is out. He tore his Achilles towards the end of that game for Cleveland's defensive line. I think he kind of was the second guy there on their defensive line. And so that really, I think this should be a game where Pittsburgh can impose its will physically on Cleveland's defense.
All right, let's move to wide receiver. And Michael, if I would have told you that at the beginning of the season, that Michael Thomas has Drew Brees at quarterback, is at home in a game which he has an implied total of 28.5, and he's not $10,000, he's not $9,000 or $8,000 or even $7,000 on FanDuel. He is only $6,800. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. But here's the deal. Look, folks, even it's obvious that Michael Thomas has been injured all year, right? He's really had trouble moving. There's nothing wrong with his hands. Look at the catch rate in these games. What has not happened is the touchdowns. So finally the Saints realized, look, he's not getting better physically. We're going to make the playoffs. We just don't know our seeding. They shut him down, and for the purpose that he comes back in the playoffs at least a lot healthier, I think this is his floor, Michael, that he gives. If he comes back healthier, wow, this could be really big. Your thoughts?
I think that's the key question, right? I mean, he had the 3 weeks off. How hurt was he when he took those weeks off? Was this just about getting ready for the playoffs so that he could be at top tier value? If so, man, what a steal, like you say. If not, and hopefully there'll be some information that comes out, this could be a bit of a risky play. But yeah, when he's been on the field, he's performed. I've heard people say that he might be a decoy, but I don't see that being the case. I mean, if Chicago is going to put a lot of extra bodies on somebody, it's probably going to be Kamara with the performance he had a couple of weeks ago.
We'll go from the guy who led all of football in targets last year, Michael Thomas, to the guy who's leading all targets this year. It's Stephon Diggs. And because we were diligent with our running back picks, we can go out and get the best wide receiver clearly on this slate, Michael. And in a matchup that I think is going to be a shootout against the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, those games have been continuing to be high scoring. We've seen Josh Allen be fantastic this whole season, really. And he loves the fact that he's got Stephon Diggs. He's really rewarded him with not only a lot of targets, but also a lot of throws near the end zone. With John Brown back, I actually think it's helpful, especially with Cole Beasley out, because he's another speedster. I mean, they compete. In fact, I think John Brown's technically a little bit faster, which will mean they can't just bracket completely Diggs. So, he's expensive, but not as expensive as a couple other guys on the slate. And we got to have at least one guy in here who we are pretty confident is going to bust out, really high ceiling. Let's take it.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills is the second most passing offense this year. And the Colts are coming off in 4 of the last 5 games, giving up 300-yard passes. All right, so the last wide receiver, you know what? We are turning back the clock, Michael. the names we have at wide receiver, Michael Thomas, Stephon Diggs, and now some guy named Antonio Brown. And we love that we can get him for only $6,500. This becomes a really, it is clear that he has developed a great rapport with Tom Brady, and that Tampa Bay offense has gotten better and better as the season goes along. Last 7 games, they've averaged 35 points. I think that they are, just the last game, he just completely went off. And that corresponded to a game which Mike Evans got injured in. And he might play, but will Mike Evans be at 100%? Your thoughts, Michael?
I don't think so. That's hyperextending the knee is a bad injury. I think they shouldn't play him, frankly, if they want to make sure he's available for future games. They're going to win this game. My only concern here, and I actually have a nice little caveat discount to it, is that Tampa Bay is going to go up early and not have to worry about pushing the ball too deep. But that actually plays a little bit in Antonio Brown's favor. He's a little bit of the dump off, get the ball out to somebody quickly player. And so he could still continue to perform even if Tampa Bay's ahead. So I really like this pick. He's just, he's still the athlete, maybe not quite what he used to be, but the athlete that can produce. And with those other receivers, right, he's not going to get all the attention. So I really like this at 6,500.
Yeah, and they've blown out a few teams like Detroit and Atlanta, and still, even though that they won by large margins, Tom Brady still had really strong games. All righty, so let's get Antonio Brown. All right, as we look at this lineup, Michael, and we see that Michael Thomas is in the lineup, let's hope that we will not be doubting Thomases, because not only we have Michael Thomas, we're getting Logan Thomas in the lineup. Bad slate of games for tight ends this week. You've got Robert Tonyan and Travis Kelce, who are on buys, and Darren Waller not in the playoffs. But this is one tight end that I think that we can rely on this slate. Why? Because who else is going to catch the ball when, as you just said, Tampa Bay gets up on Washington, and when Washington has had the battle from behind, like they did against Seattle, those are the game scripts that are perfect for Logan Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, I see some people wanting to go with Mark Andrews. He just hasn't quite had the production that he's had in years past. The other idea is maybe, Hooper on Cleveland has snuck in there a little bit. But really, I think Logan Thomas by far has the most upside, and probably also the highest floor of everyone on here, especially with McLaren, clearly not being 100%, and Alex Smith really not able to push the ball downfield. And Logan Thomas is a stud. So I really like this pick. And he's not that much more expensive than some of the guys who I don't think are going to produce much at all.
All right. So we've got $18,600 left. $6,200 left. I just wanted to comment that we're going with Stephon Diggs, as Michael talked about John Brown, the fact that, with Cole Beasley out, that John Brown can do well. I was a little worried, Michael, that we might have to have UPS sponsor this and ask us what can Brown do for you if we put John Brown in and Antonio Brown, and by the way, Hollywood Brown is a pretty good option this week as well. All right, let's move on to our flex. We have to save some money here, and we've got a guy that I am super excited about, mostly because he's so darn cheap, and that is Darnell Mooney, who is only $5,400. One of the reasons I really like Mooney this week is he's going up against the New Orleans Saints, right? Yes, they have a good defense, but you attack New Orleans more in the air than you do in the ground. In game script wise, I really think that New Orleans is going to get up on them, forcing them to pass. They're playing in the dome, so weather is not going to be an issue for the passing game. And the one thing in the passing game that the New Orleans Saints excel in is Marshawn Lattimore. He almost certainly will be on Allen Robinson, which gives Darnell Mooney room to roam. Last week, coming off a huge game against the Green Bay Packers. Again, at only $5,400. I like this pick.
Yeah, his targets have been creeping up. I think exactly what you mentioned. The Jair on Green Bay, kind of same issue, was covering
Robinson.
Allen Robinson, which opened up Mooney. I think only one thing to pay attention to is he did leave that game with an ankle injury. We got to make sure he is not on the injury report, or just kind of keep an eye this week. But at this price, and really what we're doing here, Eric, let's be honest, is we're saving up to see if we can get one of the top quarterbacks as well. Yeah, I like his floor if he is healthy, for sure.
Yeah, and Michael, we can do it. And really the question became, and we debated it, right? Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? You want to talk about that? Which both guys we both really like. Which one do you think makes the most sense in this lineup?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what's left, other than the two of them, it's a huge drop off to go to Ryan Tannehill or Tom Brady. So it's really got to be between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. If you don't go with one of those two, I feared you're going to fall in the bottom half of this contest. I think Josh Allen is a solid pick this week. I think there's a reason why he's close to Lamar Jackson in price. He obviously has scored more fantasy points this year and has just been fantastic all season long for the most part, but definitely in the last several weeks. And I see him producing again, especially against Indianapolis, who's been weak in the air. That being said, it is time for Lamar Jackson to be the guy he wasn't last year in the playoffs. It's time to take advantage of the fact that they haven't used him much this year. I'll let you talk to a little bit more, but I just think he's going to run wild and have a fantastic fantasy day.
Yeah. Once again, we talked about it at the beginning. Tennessee. Tennessee's defense has just been so bad. Lamar Jackson's implied total is 29. So I think there are going to be plenty of scoring opportunities. And what you really like about him is the fact that he can score whether it be in the air or on the ground. And I know that's true for Josh Allen too. And that's one of the reasons we like both of these guys so much more than, the Tom Brady's or even Ryan Tannehill, who can sneakily run potentially for a touchdown, but he's not going to give you the volume on the ground. All right, $3,900 is left for our defense. Michael, here's my comment. Somebody in FanDuel needs to get fired. How are the Seattle Seahawks the second lowest defense? They are at home. They are favored. Their defense is dramatically improved. They're excellent against the run, and they've gotten even better against the pass. And they may face a quarterback. Well, look, they're either going to face a quarterback who has a bad thumb, who can't run the ball, or they're going to face a guy who's only played one NFL game in John Wolford. Your comments?
Yeah, again, I think we want to make sure we have a high floor here. And here, this is by far the best option in terms of opponent rank. And that's huge. This game is going to be a low scoring game. In fact, a turnover is probably what's going to end up deciding it. And I think we know who's probably going to be the one doing the turning the ball over if Wofford is behind the center. And so I think this is a pretty good pick. And even if we had a few $100s left, I would still go with it over some of these higher priced defenses.
Now, I want to make it very clear that this is a Saturday and a Sunday slate. So it's very important that the guy in your flex spot plays very, very late. So we've got Darnell Mooney, who plays Sunday in the middle of the middle game, in the afternoon game. So that is the latest of our wide receivers, along with Michael Thomas. So make sure whatever lineup you have, you might want to employ the late swap. I think it's even more important because this matchup goes over a couple of days. So Michael, that is our cast lineup. Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, James Conner, Michael Thomas, Stephon Diggs, Antonio Brown, Logan Thomas, Darnell Mooney, and the Seattle Seahawks. That leaves us $300. So we're going to continue to monitor this lineup for late breaking news. The extra $300 gives us a little room to play. Obviously, if there's someone that you do not like in this lineup, feel free to switch them out for someone you do like.
I think what I would just add with that $300 remaining is because Josh Allen is I think pretty close to Lamar Jackson, maybe not quite as much upside, but is someone who I feel good is going to perform this week. If you want to try and save an extra 300 on top of it and go with Allen, so that you have 600, that probably opens up, another realm of possibility on some of these guys who like Connor or even Mooney, where we're a little bit concerned, or even Dobbins. So those are the things I would just add to be thoughtful to.
All right, let's go to our GPP lineup. All right, Michael, this is our GPP lineup. A lot of guys are similar, but we tried to build it with a little bit more correlation so we can bump up that high ceiling. And we start off with a stack, Lamar Jackson to his favorite wide receiver, Marquise Brown. Once again, what can Brown do for you? Let's hope Marquise and Hollywood can come up big for us. He's been a very consistent target, and I feel like I'm a broken record. Against Tennessee, the highest game total on the slate of 55. We're looking for big things here.
Yeah, no, I think the upside and the pairing makes a lot of sense. Again, I'm pretty sold this week on Lamar Jackson, and that's why, especially with this game, I think we have to go with this game in our GPP lineup.
All right, we need to tell a story with our GPP lineup, and we're going to tell a story in that Cleveland-Pittsburgh game. We talked in the cash game that we think that James Conner will be heavily involved. We have James Conner still in this lineup, but sometimes Pittsburgh throws the ball even when they are ahead, and if Cleveland is behind, they're definitely going to be passing the ball. So we've got a Deontay Johnson and a Jarvis Landry kind of stack going back and forth. Tell us why we like Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, real quick, just a comment on that. I think it would be a little bit tempting to, if we could afford it, to go with the running game of Cleveland, because they have employed the running game and the Steelers have been a little bit weaker against the running game. But, to move from Connor to Chubb is just too expensive, and that's who I would go with. So I think Jarvis Landry is starting to get those additional targets. But let's talk about Deontay Johnson, who have followed all year long, had the drops early, was a little bit concerning. But now that Pittsburgh is showing and learning that they need to push the ball downfield in order to open up the game that Ben Roethlisberger loves most, they've got to throw the ball to somebody who has speed, and that's been Deontay Johnson. We've seen that the last couple of weeks where he's had some nice long catches. He has a lot of speed. I think he's actually more comfortable catching the ball downfield than he is close. And so I think he's got a lot of upside, and he's going to be the guy who's going to open up the game for the Steelers to be able to continue to push the ball.
All season long, we've been preaching that Deontay Johnson is the number one wide receiver on Pittsburgh. And finally, FanDuel has admitted it by pricing him as the highest Steeler. But just look at the targets that the guy gets. There was a couple of games early in the season in which he got hurt at the beginning of the game, but you discount those, and he's getting double digits in targets every on average. What about Jarvis Landry? Ever since Odell Beckham Jr. went out and Jarvis Landry established himself clearly as the number one wide receiver target, he had a couple of really bad win games I think it was the Houston game, but it got after that. He's been very consistently targeted and utilized by this Cleveland Brown team.
Yeah, in the last fight, he's a real talent, right? And a lot of people compared him in LSU to Odell Beckham Jr., and he really has similar talent. And I think Cleveland just hasn't been utilizing him right until here recently. We've seen the last 5 weeks he's performed. You know, the concern here is Pittsburgh's defensive backfield is super strong. And so Jarvis Landry's going to have to get touches probably around the line of scrimmage. But I think that's what's going to happen. Cleveland has been trying to utilize their play action pass. And when they've done that, Baker Mayfield has looked good. And he's looked good because of guys like Jarvis Landry. You know, this wouldn't necessarily have been my first choice if we weren't trying to do this game storing, but he's also reasonably priced. So I like it.
All right. So I believe we talked about everyone else in our lineup except Alvin Kamara. You know, if there was ever a guy that has a high ceiling, as he showed a couple weeks ago, it's Alvin Kamara. And the fact is, or actually, the fact is, when Drew Brees plays, Kamara has been really, really good. He's been really good when Drew Brees plays and Michael Thomas doesn't. But your thoughts on Kamara?
Yeah, I mean, he's effectively coming off a bye because of him being held out this last game. So he's going to be kind of at his, you know, with running backs, they got to be as healthy as can be. So he's going to be poised to perform. And like you say, he's done well ever since Breeze came back, and even before that a little bit. He's going to get his touches. He has a extremely high ceiling. I think in this game, higher than actually perhaps Derrick Henry, just because I think Tennessee's going to have to throw the ball to keep up with Baltimore. So, and he's priced $1,200 cheaper, thankfully, because we wouldn't have been able to afford Henry anyways. So got to have a couple of guys that can really kill it. And Kamara is one of those guys.
Michael, thanks so much for joining us this week. It was an absolute thrill. As a part of a subscriber appreciation week, we get to see you one more time this week. I hear you're going to drop into our live show this Saturday for just a little bit. Is this true?
Yeah, well, I'm coming from afar. I'll be off site, so I'm going to have to make a cameo. But I'm looking forward to it, and I'll do what I can to be on as long as possible, despite the circumstances.
That is Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 12 noon. That will be, you guys, also opportunity to potentially ask us any follow-up news with Late Night Brew, which is NFL DFS. Michael and I broke down the NFL spreads. We agreed some, Michael, and we had a few fights. So check out that video right there. And it's really good as we broke down the spreads. Also, if you haven't yet, please vote in our NFL player tourney. We'll put that video on the screen as well. Until next time, take care, be safe, and we'll see you later.
Have a good one, guys.